Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Counselor's Office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are talking about Marathon once again. Marathon is not even out, and it's already the point of many topics. And god dang, now that I'm looking at this white screen, Paul Tassi, tell Forbes to turn this thing off and make it dark screen. Like, holy crap, dude. But we're checking out Paul Tassi's article. Shout out to him. You know, he has his own dramas, but you know what? Shout out to him. He's a trooper dealing with all kinds of people, whether you like him or hate him. You gotta admire the hustle. The rationale behind why Bungie's Marathon would be $40. I'm gonna just say this. I knew this blew up, and as much as I am always there to criticize Bungie, this is supposed to be an extraction shooter. There really isn't any free extraction shooters. There's like maybe one or maybe two. I know there was a couple free ones that died. I don't see the $40 being unnormal, and I think people are trying to compare Marathon to Concord, which, let's just read the title of the article. Maybe he talks about it. A new report yesterday from Supposed Insider, speaking to Game Post, says that Bungie and Sony are looking toward a $40 price point for Marathon, its upcoming PvP extraction shooter, supposedly out in 2025. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they delay it. Let's be honest. They need this thing to come out premium. I can't confirm the validity of that, and honestly, I think it's something that very much still up in the air, but I think it's worthwhile to examine the idea as a thought experiment. First, there was immediately Destiny community pushback to the idea of a $40 price tag. An extraction shooter is significantly different from Destiny. I don't think that when Bungie made this, that they intended to capture the Destiny players. I think the intent of Marathon was to capture a new audience. I think they knew that the well was drying up with Destiny, and when they first pitched the idea, I guarantee it was intended to catch a new audience. That's the bottom dollar. The failure of another Sony PvP game, Concord, is fresh in everyone's mind, and its price tag is credited in part with its failure in a market that demands essential every new entry is free to play. The DOA dead on arrival idea is that Marathon could repeat the same mistake when it too is entering an almost identical market of free to play PvP, but it's not. Okay, so maybe free to play PvP titles, but PvP, like, again, you're talking about extraction shooters. They need to compete with Tarkov, which is not a free to play game. Like, that's who they should be competing against and trying to steal players from. Let's get this straight. There are a bunch of free to play PvP, but Concord was just like another Overwatch, which Overwatch is free to play, and Overwatch already has its own drama going on. But it's not like there's a lot of different versions of those Overwatch clones and copies. Even like Marvel's Avengers has their own Overwatch, essentially. Like, let's not put this all in the same category. There is a lot of PvP, but there's also like Call of Duty. If you're gonna put PvP in one bucket, there's a lot. And I'm not trying to defend Bungie, but I'm also a fair person. Like, when I give criticism, I'm going to be fair. And don't get, like, I know people on both sides hate that. The people who are Bungie defenders hate it when I'm critical of Bungie. But when people who absolutely hate Bungie, like, they hate that I'm fair. Like, that's just me. I'm sorry. That's the channel you either watch or you don't like. I am fair. Just it usually is not positive or in defense of Bungie, because usually they do stupid stuff. But to sit there and say that they're being dumb to do a $40 price tag when there's a bunch of free-to-play PvP. No. It's extraction shooter, and their only objective is to be near the level of Tarkov, which will absolutely never happen. Tarkov has had years to develop, but if they make it their own version, maybe. I don't know. It's not for me. I play Tarkov, and that's probably the only extraction shooter I care to invest in. Let's continue on. Is it dead on arrival? That's a different situation. I don't know. The finals and X Defiance. I do think this this concern is valid, and it's probably no. But isn't the finals like a battle royale? Am I wrong? Someone correct me in the comments down below. I don't play it, but I know X Defiant is just like another Call of Duty. Like, what are we talking about? X Defiant failed because Call of Duty exists. Battlefield exists, or like there's so many different knockoffs to Call of Duty. Like, that's the problem. Is that the competition that X Defiant has is not other PV, like X Defiant isn't competing with the finals outside of like your time. It's competing against titles that already dominate that space, which is Call of Duty. Marathon is competing directly with Tarkov. Let's just get that out there. So why then 40 potentially? Here's what I think the rationale would be. $40 multiplayer has created one huge hit for Sony. Helldivers 2 was a brilliant success at a 40, until they, I don't know. See, now you're making points that you probably shouldn't be making points, because people absolutely hated what Sony did to Helldivers, and it died. You saw a massive success, and then you immediately saw it die on impact. Level success is obviously not a guarantee, but it's proof of concept at the very least, and Sony may not be willing to give up the potential revenue. I mean, yeah, they got to make money somehow. Concord did not fail because of its $40 price. No, I do not think it helped, but Concord fundamentally failed because it was deeply unattractive game. You can see clear evidence that with a free open beta shortly before launch, which only attracted 2.3 or K players on Steam, the price was just not the main issue there. Still, Concord was such a historic failure that Sony may want to distance Marathon in every possible facet. Again, you're comparing two different things. There was a lot of, obviously, let's be honest, let's say the elephant in it. People didn't like the gayness of Concord. It was very forced to many people, and they didn't like it. And that was a big issue. The other big issue is the game itself wasn't really targeted to like the main demographic in the first place. Like, it's just, it itself, again, is in a saturated marketplace with like Overwatch and all these other games. And then like, you have games like Deadlock that came out and apparently is a hit. I have access to that, by the way. I've yet to play it, but that's come out and that is like in the same realm, and it's very popular. And it's not even out yet, and the chances are it's probably going to be paid too. Like, it's Valve. If people are enjoying the playtest of it, there's no way that they wouldn't slap some kind of price tag on it, and people still would probably pay and play. Like, they did the right thing. It's just like in development, I guess, still. I don't know. But I feel like Concord should have really taken feedback from the players way before they even got close to launching. So let's not put Marathon and Concord in the same bucket. As much as I would like to, say that this is correct, let's not try to fish for an attack on Bungie for doing something stupid when it really isn't like the same one for one here. Bungie does enough stupid things on their own. We don't need to try to make up things. Tarkov is 50 minimum. Escape from Tarkov is the other big extraction shooter in the market, and supposedly even though Marathon puts some distance between itself and that, at least there is precedent that subgenre specifically of that price tag being somewhat okay. It's still an extraction shooter. No matter how you try to slice it, when you are in the same genre, an extraction shooter is still an extraction shooter. It may not be like a modern, realistic extraction shooter like Tarkov, and that's fine. But let's not sit here and act like, oh, it's complete. It's not at all the same thing. No, if you are getting loot and killing people, and then you're trying to survive and leave, that is the definition of an extraction shooter. Sony may not be as confident in Marathon's monetization, hence they want a large upfront price. I've heard there has been some difficulty trying to effectively monetize an extraction shooter in a way that doesn't mess things up. Well, let's look at Tarkov, who has been trying very hard to do that, and the community pushed back very hard, especially when they did some very scummy monetization, and they essentially did a 360 and changed that. In fact, PvE for Tarkov was bundled in the $250 version, but now it's $20 on its own. They're like, oh, sorry. Like, they were doing like actual pay benefits, like you get special matchmaking and you get like all this extra like special loot. Like it was a whole drama thing, and they have completely mostly went back on all that. I don't think they should ever try to mimic that at all. I think cosmetics is the way to go. Cosmetics, I think you can get away with cosmetics easy. Let's see. Helldivers 2, which has war bonds that even include things like new weapons, yet the game is not considered pay to win because it's relatively easy to farm in-game currency to buy all the stuff. Good for players, less good for revenue-focused Sony. And it could be a similar situation here where they want at least $40 to get in the door. Without that, microtransactions would have to be more annoying. I agree. Finally, maybe the game is that good. Helldivers 2 would have succeeded if it wasn't great, at least at launch. And there may be internal sentiment that Marathon will prove itself worth the $40 asking price. So I do want to kind of go try to find there was an article I thought. There was an actual, like, appears to be targeting. I'm trying to figure out where the original, I think it's Game Rant. It's a Game Rant, where they came out and said that they were doing it. Yeah, this is all like about the same stuff we talked about. I'm just looking ahead. Yeah, Hero Overwatch, which is exactly what I was saying. They're almost pretty much game post. Let's look at Marathon game post, because that's where we need to go. Game post, because there's some details that I heard about that's not being mentioned here about like that it's good but it's not great here. Okay, however, multiple sources have confirmed that to the game post that Marathon is not a hero focused, which is what many seem to believe. The heroes in Marathon are classes, each with its own set abilities along with special abilities and very different playstyle compared. So I think that's what it was leaked. That's what it was, and it seems like that Bungie is stepping away from that, and that could be their way of stepping away from like Concord and all that stuff. It's like, hey, we're not doing heroes like other games like Overwatch and stuff like that. These are just classes, which is prototypical of some shooters. They have different classes like sniper, assault rifle. Like it kind of reminds me of Team Fortress, but at the same time, that's not an extraction shooter. The core gameplay structure is pretty similar to games like Escape from Tarkov, but with a Bungie twist, according to one source. So yeah, so it is, they are literally, again, I don't know what Paul's talking about. If you read the article, it is literally about the same, just with a Bungie twist. Currently, 2 maps are in a playable state, one set on the planet in an abandoned colony and the other aboard a Marathon ship. It's unclear, however, if these will be the only maps at launch, if Bungie plans to include more. If I remember Tarkov, when it really first launched, it didn't have very many maps. Someone can comment down below, but I swear when I bought it, it only had like a couple of maps and it wasn't fully fledged, which is fine. I don't know if you should call it a finished product. $40 saying it's finished product and it only has 2 maps. I think that's a little dicey. Tarkov kind of got away with it by saying it was a beta. And they plan to upgrade and give free updates, which they have. Like whenever you buy the game, all the maps and everything is free. My concern for Marathon is they're going to sell the game as is, and then you're going to have to pay for content updates like map packs. And normally I'd be okay with that. And I'm saying I would be okay. Like I'm the target audience here. Like I would actually spend money on this game. But like, if you're looking at other extractions, they don't do map packs. It's just free. You bought the game, you just get the free. And I think trying to monetize by doing maps would be a scummy thing to do, but I could see Bungie doing that. Well, and again, we don't even know if that's the case. That's just me theorizing and thinking why, there would be only 2 maps at launch if it's a fully released game, not a beta. We'll see, right? Over the past few months, Bungie has been conducting regular playtests with internal teams, streamers, and content creators. Sources tell us the feedback around the game has been somewhat positive. I'm sorry. You had to delay this game, and you've got to the point where it's just somewhat positive. I think in order for Bungie to just get their money back, or Sony get their money back and see success and not see layoffs, Marathon needs to be a banger. With one source noting that the game feels worth the $40 price tag. In addition, a new trailer from Marathon is said to be in production. I mean, they need to. People are like almost forgetting about this game. It feels worth $40. Okay, we'll see. I'm sure people thought that Concord, people who like Concord, felt like it was worth the $40 too. I'm just saying. Until you get it into the hands, you do a beta test for the world to try out. Content creators and streamers, like what kind of content creators are we talking about? Extraction shooters? Because the first time they did Marathon with extraction shooter streamers and whatnot, they had bad news bears. Again, none of this screams Marathon is going to be a banger. It just says we've improved since the last time we've checked in. Over the past few months, Bungie has been, we are talking about, multiple sources have indicated that Bungie is putting extra effort into Marathon's new player experience. Destiny 2, Bungie's flagship title, was often criticized for being confusing or overwhelming to new players, and Marathon aims to avoid this. Well, yeah, because one is a looter shooter and one is a extraction shooter, which there shouldn't really be like much of a narrative. Like Tarkov kind of has one, but you don't play Tarkov for the narrative. You play Tarkov because you want to kill people and steal their crap. Do that and you got the baseline down. Despite positive feedback from playtests, morale within Bungie remains low as developers have grown increasingly frustrated with leadership amid recent changes at the studio. Yeah, Chris Barrett, bye-bye. Concerns remain high about the launch of Bungie's next big project, Marathon. With a game success pivotal for Bungie's and Destiny's future, there's a lot riding on how Marathon performs, and a lot riding like on people's like jobs. There's a lot going on here. I don't know. You all can take that as what you think. Overall, if it's not a banger, I don't see, like, because the reason I say this, most people thought the final shape for Destiny was a banger, but even that wasn't good enough to keep people from losing their jobs. And so that's my thought process here. If I feel like even if Marathon comes out good or somewhat good, somewhat positive, I still think people are going to lose their job because Bungie has lost a lot of money, or at least Sony has lost a lot of money because of Bungie. And so unless this is like a absolute banger, this thing pops off, people are streaming it, people are playing it, 100K views, people are just, I don't see this really helping the company as much. They need it to pop off. They do. They absolutely need it. If this thing dies, so does Bungie. That's my gamble. I don't gamble, but I am willing to put $1. As much effort as I'm willing to do is put $1 down. I'll put $1. I'll bet you $1. Just $1. Marathon fails, Bungie dies. Let's see it. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Hit the like button down below. Are you excited for Marathon? Are you the target audience? What do you think? A class-based extraction shooter. Is that for you? As always, hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel for more. As always, don't forget to game mounts. That's right, comrade. Let's go to Russia and Tarkov. Yes.